Hello, I'm Lisa Logan. I'm a psychotherapist in private practice for years and years and years, for a very long time. I've also been a college instructor. I taught about psychology and other courses. And let's see, I've been a licensed minister. I was able to marry many of my couples. I loved that. It was a beautiful gift. I'll talk about that on another video. I was also a radio talk show host where I answered questions that listeners had about their lives. But for the past 2 years, and that's what this video is about, I've changed my practice. I've put it on the internet and it's free. That was a change. But this is what my new practice is about. I'm helping people and their families who are having problems because of their families. It's called parental alienation, and I have names for each person in the family. Excuse me, the three of you. You, your mother, and your father. You are called the innocent forsaken. Do you hear me? You are called the innocent forsaken. There is no blame there. Your mother would be called the forsaken parent, and your father is called the attempted hero. But I want to start with why I have given you the name that I have. It has everything to do with your background when you were a small child. Your dad did things because he was suffering from a disease. There's no judgment here. But your dad did things that hurt you because he was drinking too much and he had a sensitivity to those chemicals that happen in his brain to cause him to act differently, or he was taking drugs. But he suffered from the disease of alcoholism or drug dependence. It hurt you when he had had too much to drink. It was confusing to you. After all, you were just a little child. What happens to children who have a parent who suffers from alcoholism is that the child becomes confused and becomes frightened. They have done something wrong. They think that they're acting in a way to cause this to happen. You didn't do anything. Did your mother and father fight a lot back then? Some of them do. And that made it even more frightening and confusing to you, especially in the family. And I'm going to explain that to you too in just a little while. You feel things differently than your siblings, your brothers and sisters do. You're more frightened and confused. And on top of all that was the fear that your dad would leave you. May I tell you that for a young child, that's terrorizing. It's true. It feels like a matter of life and death to the small child who is going through this. There's nothing worse to them. It's very sad that you as a small child had to go through that. What was really going on was a disease that your father, again, was suffering from. And it shouldn't be called alcoholism. We should come up with a much better name for it, but we haven't so far. I was doing a book on weight gain, and I called it, because it also is a disease of the brain, I called it bariatric chemical instasis. I think alcoholism is going to be called brain chemical instasis. But, okay. Look, it's misunderstood by most of society. It's misunderstood by the medical establishment. And there's a stigma that's attached to it because someone who does this seems not to be able to control themselves. They're looked down on. by society with disdain. And that's sad. They're thought to be unable to control their behavior, unable and unwilling to stop drinking and control themselves, except it's not true. They're not inferior. They're human beings who are unable to control themselves. If you had the same disease, they find it virtually impossible to stop. If you had the same disease, you would find out just how great that compulsion is. So, what you're doing. I have no judgment about someone who suffers. All I want to do is help them. There are medical teaching schools now, you might want to know, where they're looking for this as a disease, a treatment and a cure. So I hope they find it. I've been waiting for a lot of years for them to do that. But look, there are heart attacks that happen because of this disease. There are different kinds of cancer that happen because of this disease. And there are thousands upon thousands of deaths on the freeway. Each year, men and women die on the freeway. That's terrible, isn't it? So, it's a terribly serious disease. What other disease have you ever heard of that causes this kind of trauma in the world? We got to find a treatment and a cure. We've been investigating it for well over 20 years. That's true. And we don't have it yet. Just like with cancer, we don't have the cure yet, but we will. But this is about you when you were small and called the innocent forsaken. When you didn't know what was wrong with your dad, when you didn't understand why he was the way he was, when you were small, all you knew was that he acted different when he'd had too much to drink, period. And that it frightened you. For that I call you the innocent forsaken. So now you know how you got the name that I call you. Why, what was happening to you? It was so painful that your dad might leave. It was terrifying. You were having to deal with things that even an adult would have a hard time dealing with. So that was what it was like for your other parent, by the way, your mother. She would have been called at that point a codependent. It's later that she will be given another role, that of the forsaken parent. But at that point, she was the codependent. A codependent is the member of the family that tries to do whatever it needs to be done to cover up for the alcoholic and their behavior. She tries to please the alcoholic parent, her husband, and especially she tries to take care of her children who are in the family. It's confusing for all of them. But there is one child, possibly two, who turns out to be especially sensitive to all of this, and that is you, the innocent forsaken. They are more affected by all of this than their brothers and sisters because they are especially sensitive. They are more easily hurt. And that's you, isn't it? I mean, can you remember back to when you were small and feeling more than your other brothers and sisters did? Your mother had to give you special attention. She had to do that because you were more easily harmed by your father's illness. Do you remember back to how things were, the bond between you and your mother? The bond that existed, that was stronger than her bond with your brothers and sisters. Do you remember that? And by the way, that sensitivity that you have continues to this day. You care more about the problems other people have. Isn't that true? And your mother sensed this in you and did her best to try to shield you from what was happening with your father. Maybe your other brothers and sisters were jealous of the bond that you had with your mother back then. You may not have it any longer. Rivalry is fierce between siblings, but I have that sensitivity for others, and I'm telling you, I cry more. I think I do, and I think it's a good thing, but it's painful to feel that much for others. But I'm grateful, and I think truly good therapists are people who have that sensitivity. I'm not trying to talk you into becoming a therapist. I'm just saying you might have the gift that would make you a very, very good therapist. It's helped me to help others. I'm tremendously grateful to be here with you as you are, watching this video and getting to tell you what's happening, what caused what's going on in your life. You were sensitive. You were sensitive. And that's very special. You were specially cherished by your mother then because she had to take special care of you. Do you understand that? That's quite a load for a little child. And don't forget that you were also terrified that your father was going to leave you. What kind of a childhood was that for you? What kind? What was that like for a small child? Well, it was your childhood. And I'll tell you something. I've always been grateful for my sensitivity, but it's been a pain in the neck too. I cry. I cry over people in newspaper stories. Do you do that? It's allowed me again, though, to help other people. And that's been a privilege, having that ability. Helping others who are in pain. It's an honor for which I'm really grateful. Okay, so the codependent tries to please the alcoholic, covers up for them, and smooths out the family, and to take care of you. You, especially you. They loved you and they wanted to protect you. She wanted to protect you from what was happening. She saw what you were doing and what you were going through, and all she wanted to do was help you. The two of you were especially close. She intuitively knew that you could depend, that no matter what happened, you could depend on her. I think I screwed that up just a little bit. No matter what happened, you knew intuitively that you could depend on your mother no matter what happened. But then things got worse in your family. Maybe your mom and dad got a divorce, and eventually you gave up. Your alcoholic parent no longer lived at home, and you got to watch them remarry, maybe have children that you might then have felt a little jealous of. But above all, your mother, you and your mother, the two of you, were exceedingly close. It was hopeless for you. It was hopeless. Can you remember that? You were losing your father more and more, and it was painful, but there was nothing you could do about it. The grief you experienced, the sorrow you let out when you were alone, it shouldn't have been happening. Honestly, I honestly know what it was like for you. And I'm going to use a strong word. I truly hate that happened to you. I care deeply about what you went through. Hate is a very strong word. But you were, again, the innocent forsaken, and you deserved so much more. And now we're going to skip ahead. Years have gone by, and you're now in a relationship. Maybe you're married. Maybe you have children of your own. Your father may have remarried. He has a wife. He's much closer to you. He seems to love you, and he does. And his new wife likes you very much. She may love you as well. And now it's your mother. She's now seen as the person who made a lot of trouble for your father back when you were small. And this is what happens to you. Old feelings come back. The knowledge that it is not safe for you to remember the way your father drank. It wasn't safe for you to say anything when he'd had too much to drink, or to think of the things your mother did that you didn't like. But you do, and that's exactly what you do. Your mother suddenly becomes the bad guy, and your father, who has a new wife and a new life, has a changed life. And they seem to be much more fun, don't they? And that is what I call your mother has now become the forsaken parent. Forsaken, abandoned, rejected. Why? Why? Why is this happening? I've got the answer. I wouldn't be asking that and expect you to answer it. I have the answer. When you were small, you never dealt with your feelings. It wasn't safe for you because your dad might have left for good. And that was terrifying. I'm saying that again. I can't say it enough. That was terrifying. But you had feelings that were tearing you apart. And what did you do with them? You stuffed them inside of you, and they festered. They didn't go away. They festered there for all these years as you grew into an adult. And now, here it is, back in your life. You have your dad back in your life, and it's still not safe for you to tell him how you felt when you were small, because to tell him is dangerous. But your feelings are persistent. Remember how your mother failed you. She must have, because everybody thinks she did in the family. So she must have. I don't mean your other brothers and sisters. I mean aunts, uncles, other people. She's getting blamed a lot. And she's not like she used to be. Intuitively, you know that she's afraid when she's around you. Not only that, but you think she pesters you as she tries to make you feel guilty. That's what you think she's doing. You think she wants you to feel guilty about your new relationship with your dad. It's as if she wants you to feel bad about this new relationship that you have with his wife. Does she write to you? Does she write letters to you trying to get you to understand? Does she follow you on Facebook? When you get that letter, do you tear it up? Do you block her on Facebook? I know all about that stuff. Do you ignore her at Christmas? Do you go to your husband's or your boyfriend's family instead? But here's something else, because now we have a new key. Here's something else. Your husband or your boyfriend seems to think that your mother is interfering in your life? Does he disagree with your mother? Does he dislike her? But here's something else that's important. It's extremely likely that you have chosen someone like your dad, that you may have chosen someone who drinks or uses drugs, just like your dad did when you were small. Would you like to know why you might have ended up, or why you have ended up, with someone who is like the way your father used to be? This is a rule that we all know about as psychotherapists in the world of therapy. And this is what it is. The reason you ended up with someone that has the same characteristics your father used to have is because all of that pain is still there. You never let it out. And you pick someone who's most like your father because you think that it's at an unconscious level, a subconscious level. You pick the person who is most like the parent you had the most pain with. Do you understand that? You pick a person who is most like the parent you had the most pain with when you were small, because you're still trying to work it out. You will marry someone with those same characteristics, and the part of you who's doing the choosing is the innocent, forsaken child. The innocent, forsaken child has a continued need to work through the pain they carry from their past. Isn't that sad? And that is the way that they find themselves trying to do this, is by choosing someone who is most like the parent that they felt the most pain with when they were small. In their subconscious, the hope that they have is that they'll be able to work it through with their new mate. Don't get angry. I'm just telling you, and I'm not saying stop, but I'm telling you the truth. It's not going to work. It can't. But you try anyway, and I would never fault you for that. I had a client years back who said, Lisa, I swear to you, it's uncanny. I have a promise to myself that I'll never, never, never again become involved with another man who drinks too much. The last man I was with didn't even drink when I met him. But months later, there he is, drinking. What is it? What is it about me? Well, it's the innocent child from her past doing the picking. The innocent child was still trying to work it through and find a way to do it. But this is important. You can't. It simply won't work. That's a time in the past. And the people that you still need to work it through are your mother and father. The way you're trying to heal from your past between you, your father, and your mother, well, your mother can help you. She was there. She knows what happened. I remember things in my daughter's life that she doesn't know. She has no idea that those things happened. I could be a great help to her. Your mother can as well. Your mother knows the truth about what happened when you were little. Your father can help also by giving the love and acceptance that you wanted when you were small. And you can help you by talking openly about what life was like back then. But the new person you're with now, they can help themselves by dealing with their own disease of alcoholism, by understanding that they have their own family background and that they can work it through with them as well. and that their background has nothing to do with you, except both of you want to live happily ever after lives, and you have a right to that. It can be done, and that's a goal that you can have. You don't have to exclude your mother, however, in order to get it done. Your mother now, at this phase in her life and in your life, I call her the forsaken parent. She's an extremely valuable person to you. She was there. She knows the truth of what happened. And above everything else, she cares deeply about you. She gave birth to you. Some time back, my own daughter thought it might be a good idea. I don't think I said to you at the beginning of this, I'm also a forsaken parent. I'm also a mother who's gone through this, a parent who's gone through this. Anyway, my son-in-law, I love their marriage. They're beautiful people. I love him. I love her, of course. She's my daughter. But one of the things that happened when he was very young, 13 years old, he began to call his mother and dad by their first names. And he also fits the pattern of all of this. So, other than he hasn't had anything to drink for a long time. But so he began to call his mom and dad by their first names when he was just 13 years old. Not too many years ago, enough. My daughter thought it would be a good idea if she started to call me by my first name. She thought that was a good idea. And she said, I'd like to do that, Mom. We're all grown up now. What do you think? And I said, I think it's terrible, Kim. I am your mother. I am your only mother. I will never allow this to happen, not in my life. You may not begin to call me by my first name, not if you want me to stay in this family. And it was true. Now, I don't know what she's doing behind my back, but it's not okay with me to my face that she calls me by my first name. That's just the way it is. I'm the only mother she will ever have. I don't want that bond broken. Okay, I know things about families, the bonds that exist between us, and those bonds are unbreakable. There's something in those genes, genes. There's something in those genes, something that will never ever change, even though you're separated, if you are, from your parent right now. We come to find out that they are unbreakable. We come to find out that they're unstoppable. Try to begin to remember when you and your mom were close. What caused you to be as close as you were? Because she understood you. That's why. Believe me, that closeness can still be there between the two of you. I'm very happy that you have a new relationship with your father. Oh my God, that's wonderful. Honestly, I mean that. And his new family. But that doesn't mean that your mother can't be in your life as well. What's truly sad about what you have with your mother now is that you're doing your part in passing this horrible tradition on down the line with your own children. Watch them as they grow older. You'll see that they'll be picking the same kind of mates that you've picked, and that they'll be doing the very same kinds of things that you've done. They watched you banish your mother from your family, if that's something you've done. And that is how that families end up. And that would be very, very sad for your children. I care about them too. Listen, I'm done now. And I want nothing but the best for you. I promise you that it breaks my heart as I read the letters and the emails I receive. And I'm going to read something for you. Did you see Andrew Lloyd Webber's Phantom of the Opera? Do you remember that? I can't see it without crying. I have to tell you that. My daughter and I share three, three, uh, three movies that we love. Andrew Lloyd Webber, his Phantom of the Opera, is a stage play and a movie. But anyway, she paid for tickets for my granddaughters and I and her to go see it. And she paid for front row seats. I don't know why it happened, but when Christina, who's the name of the star of the Phantom of the Opera, when it was time for Christina to sing this song, "Wishing You Were Somehow Near to Me," Christina walked right up, stood right in front of me. The stage was up above, and sang the song. I began to cry and cry. I don't know why that happened. She didn't walk away. She stayed right there in front of me. And I understand, though, this is a beautiful, beautiful song. The words are beautiful, and I want to read it for you. I'm not going to sing it. I could. I'm not going to do that to you. It's called "Wishing You Were Somehow Near to Me," and let me read it. And then I'm going to read you a letter from a woman just like you, who's the adult child of a mother who's a forsaken parent. So, wishing you were somehow near to me. You were once my friend and daughter, then my world was shattered. Wishing you were somehow near again, wishing you were somehow here. Sometimes it seems if I just dream, somehow you will be here. Wishing I might hear your voice again, hoping that I surely would. Dreaming of you won't help me to do all that I dreamed we would. So many years fighting back tears. Why can't the past just go away? Wishing you were somehow here again, knowing you have said goodbye. I try to forgive. God, help me to live. Give me the strength to try. No more memories, no more silent tears, no more gazing across the long lost years. Help me learn to accept goodbye. Andrew Lloyd Webber. Christina sang that to her father. She was in the cemetery walking through. She sang it to her father. And this is a letter that I'm so grateful I received. I have received many of these letters. This one sticks with me. They all do. But I have this, and I want to share it with you. Dear Lisa, I felt your wisdom in the videos you have for us. You touched my heart listening to your honesty about what parental alienation is actually like for the parent. Then I understood that you were not just talking to the parents of adult children, you were talking to me, too. I am what you call an adult child, and now the innocent forsaken. I have created a distance between myself and my mother because of pain I've gone through with her. You made me realize that what I was doing to her is something I don't want to have happen. I called her right away so I could bless her heart and we could try again. I love my mother. Thank you for what I learned from you, Lisa. And I won't give you her name. Isn't that beautiful? I'm so grateful. And with this final letter, this is from me, from a daughter who heard the truth of my words. I dedicate this video to my own daughter. You do remember, Kim, and you do know the truth as well. I love you. I love you with all my heart, and I will never, never, never stop loving you. I want to thank all of you who are watching this video. It means everything to me that you're watching it, and I hope that it changes your life. I'm going to continue to make videos for the innocent forsaken, and if you want to write to me, you're welcome to do that. I won't tell anyone that you wrote, and unless you give me permission, I will not read anything on any of the other videos that I'll be making unless you give me permission to do that. And if I do it, I always cover up who it is and what they're talking about so that you don't know, so that no one knows. And if you do want to write to me at The Innocent Forsaken, 3 words, no spaces, but be sure and say the, because somebody else says innocent forsaken. So you have to say The Innocent Forsaken at gmail.com. I answer every single email that I get, and I'm delighted to get them. And I'm happy to answer your questions. Really, I am. I spend a lot of time doing that. God bless every one of you. You are blessed, and there is no blame in this. No blame for your mother, no blame for your father. They did the best they could to love you. We all did, and we make mistakes. You make mistakes with your kids now. We all make mistakes. Okay. I hope you watch the rest of my videos. Please feel free to write to me. Bye-bye.